Assalamu alaikum. In the previous two lessons, we illustrated how to write a good introduction for your essay and good body paragraphs. And in today's lesson, we're going to discuss how to write a good conclusion for your essay. So let's watch. Okay, there are some goals that you can achieve in the conclusion. The first one of them is to provide some advice based on what was mentioned in the body paragraphs. You could do that, and I'm going to show you a good example right now. Or you could summarize what you mentioned in the body paragraphs, or you could present your opinion. If you did not have a chance to do this in the introduction, then the conclusion would be a great place for you to include your opinion. Or you could provide a mixture of all of these elements. So you could provide summary plus advice, or opinion plus advice, or anything like that. Okay. Now, let's talk about writing some advice in the conclusion. When you present your advice, it should be based on what you mentioned in the body paragraphs. Do not provide a piece of advice that's not related to the information discussed earlier. Let's look at a good example here. The elderly are being treated badly in the society. What are the reasons behind this phenomenon? Okay, so old people are being treated badly in the society, and they're asking you to write an essay in which you explain why this is happening. So maybe in your essay, you think about two main reasons. The first one is bad education. The schools are not doing the job and not teaching the youth how to treat the elderly properly. And also poor parenting skills. The parents are not contributing to solving this problem. They are not educating their children and teaching them to take care of senior citizens. So you write one body paragraph about this main idea and another body paragraph about this one. And that's it. And now it's time for you to write a conclusion. So what can you do? You're going to paraphrase this, but in order not to be accused of redundancy, you're going to present this as a piece of advice. You can do that. How? Let me show you. So maybe you say, in conclusion, our educational system needs to step in to change the bad attitude of teenagers towards our senior citizens. You're talking about the educational system here, which was discussed in one of the body paragraphs. Parents also need to collaborate with the schools regarding this problem to make sure that our civilization maintains its great values derived from our unique heritage. You're talking about parents here. So you're writing two pieces of advice based on the information that you elaborated earlier in the body paragraphs. This is great. Nobody can accuse you of redundancy because you're not repeating yourself. In the body paragraphs, you're describing the problem. In the conclusion, you're providing solutions or recommendations regarding this problem. So you are not redundant. That's regarding the advice. Okay, as I said, you could also summarize. You could write a summary. But writing a summary, in my opinion, can be very difficult. Why? I'll tell you why. Because you already presented the main ideas two times. Once in the introduction as an outline, a second time in the body paragraphs. And if you summarize again the same ideas, then you're going to be discussing them for the third time in one essay. That's why it's super hard. It's so hard. If you decide to do that, you need to be very good at paraphrasing. Your vocabulary needs to be very varied, and you need to know a lot of synonyms for the same words, because if you don't know many synonyms, you're going to be repeating yourself many times. So in my opinion, it's best to avoid the summary if you can mention your opinion. So if you haven't mentioned your opinion in the introduction, it's a great idea to write it in the conclusion. Also, if you have a chance to provide some advice, if you can think about some advice related to the main ideas you illustrated in the body paragraphs, write some advice. Do not provide a summary. We only use a summary if there is nothing else you can do. If you can't write your opinion, if you can't think of any advice, then you write a summary. That's what you do. The final item that I would like to discuss is related to formality. Your whole essay is supposed to be formal, as we said. If you're writing an academic IELTS exam, then your essay is supposed to be formal. Or semi-formal if your exam is general IELTS. However, in my opinion, you can have some flexibility in the conclusion. You can give yourself some room to be a little bit informal in the conclusion. Why? Because the conclusion is like the goodbye scene in a movie. You may use exaggerated language a little bit, or use some linguistic imagery. It's done for the sake of adding a touch of beauty in your essay. If you would like to use a figure of speech or some imagery, as I said, in the conclusion, you can go ahead and do that. Because everything else in your essay was formal. So you could be a little informal in your conclusion if you think it's gonna add some strength to your essay, if it's gonna make the conclusion more powerful, go ahead and do that. Okay. So that's everything regarding writing the conclusion. I hope this was useful. By this, we have illustrated basically all you need to do, all you need to know regarding writing essays in the IELTS exam. We illustrated how to write an introduction and body paragraphs. And now we illustrated how to write a good conclusion. So I hope this was a useful lesson. And I'm going to see you in the next lesson, inshallah. Have a nice time. Goodbye. Assalamu alaikum.